September 1st, 2015, we're in the kitchen of Owen Fabert in Phoenix, Arizona. Owen is one of the few people still around who was in Dave Elman's classes in the 1950s and 60s. And the only one that we've had a chance to interview so far. And he and his wife have provided us with a superb meal and an awful lot of fun just sitting and talking. And we decided we would also like to get it down on record. So this is Owen Fabert. I'm Larry Elman, Dave Elman's son. And tell me how you got into the class, Owen.
Well, my wife's obstetrician, Dr. Jack Brodsky, was a very, very close friend. We were over at his house one evening, and he was talking about Dave's coming and the classes, and they had been invited to bring their patients. And so Jack had asked us if we wanted to go, and we said, sure. So that's how we got there.
Okay, so you attended as a patient.
We attended as a patient, as a guest, right.
Right. And if I remember correctly from lunch, your wife was pregnant at the time?
My first wife was pregnant at the time.
And the doctor who brought you was her obstetrician?
That's correct.
Okay.
What was his name?
Jack Brodsky.
Jack Brodsky, Dr. Jack Brodsky, the obstetrician,
right,
brought you guys. Now, I know that Dad's normal policy in those days was that patients only came when their doctor felt that a particular session was of use, either in them being able to demonstrate something for the class through the doctor, or he worked on as part of the lesson. And usually patients didn't end up going to more than one class. But apparently Dr. Brodsky either found an awful lot of good reasons or something, because you told me you'd been to a lot of his classes.
We were to several classes. I'm not sure that we were to all of them, but we were to several.
How many people were in the class?
My recollection is there were about 43 doctors and dentists.
Any wives in the room?
None at all.
That's unusual also, because Dad would encourage, just as he encouraged the doctors to bring their patients, he encouraged them to bring their wives. Some classes had a whole section of wives, some didn't.
My recollection is that my wife was the only woman there.
She must have enjoyed that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, except for Pauline Elman.
Yes.
Yes, yes, my mother was there as well. So she did have a chaperone.
Right.
Plus you.
Plus me.
Plus you. So what did you think of the class, and can you give us more of an idea what it was like?
I was absolutely fascinated. Some of what Dave said was familiar to me, not from class or anything else other than I had been using it as far back as a child when I had migraine headaches. And I was able to put myself to sleep, and when I woke up the headache was gone. And I was ravenously hungry, I don't know why. So when I went to the classes and listened to Dave, I was absolutely fascinated, because a lot of what he is saying is what I was doing. And it always makes your hair stand up on the back of your head and makes you shiver a little bit. And one of the first things Dave said was that hypnosis was something nobody should be afraid of. It was simply induced relaxation, whether somebody else induced you or you induced yourself, to the point where you would accept a suggestion that was one that you were willing to accept, whether or not you were in a trance state. No way you would accept something that you would normally do. He stated that even if you knew something was totally untrue, if you wanted it badly enough, you'd believe it if you were in a state of relaxation. And he illustrated that by saying that he was going to tell the doctor something that they knew was not true, but they wanted it so badly that they would believe it. And then he had told them that the people in the pharmaceutical industry had developed a technique where they could combine a local anesthetic with alcohol, so that when the doctor cleaned off the patient's arm, the patient would feel absolutely nothing when they got a shot. He called one doctor up in front of the audience, told him this, had him look away, and pretty soon that doctor says, "When are you going to give me the shot?" And Dave says, "I already have." That doctor did it on the next one, and that one on the next one, and so on through the whole class. And my recollection is there's only 2 it didn't work on. Then Dave said, now you can use this in another respect with children, especially if you're a pediatrician, and that's by giving them a magic spot. Because you tell the paint spot in the mercurochrome on the child's arm, you tell them that's a magic spot, and where that spot is, he will never feel anything, even when he gets a shot. And so the mercurochrome wears off, but the kid still knows where the spot was, he thinks. And it worked with my son, who was later on, when he was 3-4 years old. His pediatrician was one of the people within the class, Dr. Michael Corey. And just absolutely fantastic. Another one of the things that Dave said, I'm losing something now. My wife, when she gave birth, this had to be sometime in July, August, September, October, because she was pregnant, and she gave birth early in March. And when she delivered, hypnosis was the only anesthetic that was used. She delivered quickly and with no pain.
And this was in 1961, right?
This was in 61, March of 61.
And where were you living at this time?
We were living in Champaign, Illinois.
Okay. For those who are not familiar with the geography, about how far is Champaign from Chicago?
Champaign is about 150 miles south of Chicago and about 160 miles east, a little bit northeast of St. Louis, and about 115 miles west of Indianapolis.
Okay, so it's right in the middle of farming country.
Right in the middle of farming country, central Illinois.
Okay. What else can you tell us of that time period?
Well, my father-in-law at the time was one of those individuals who would not get within 20 miles of a needle. And there was, in the Champaign area, a measles epidemic going on at the time. And Dr. Brodsky had told Beverly and I that she and I and our parents should all be vaccinated. And we told him, no problem with my folks, no problem with her mom, but no way her dad's going to do it. Jack said, invite us all over to dinner and let me handle it. So about a week later, we were all eating dinner one evening, and Jack brought the conversation around to the measles, and that everybody should be vaccinated. And by the way, I've got stuff in the bag in my car. I'll go out and bring it in. We'll do it all right now. And he started with me and told me about the anesthetic being mixed with the alcohol, and I'm not going to feel anything. And then Beverly, then her mother, then my mother, then my dad. By that time, Herman had heard it 5 times, and he was a believer, and it worked.
So there was my father's waking hypnosis being applied by one of his students to somebody who was totally afraid of needles.
Absolutely.
Great story. Personal curiosity. Among all of the classes you were able to attend, did you attend the one that he had on sexual dysfunctions in hypnosis?
No, I didn't. I did attend the one that on weight loss, where he introduced us to the Relaxaducer record.
Okay. I was the teenage kid who mailed the Relaxaducer record to the doctor. As for the other one, Dad, being embarrassed, never let me attend that one, although I attended his entire course 3 times in a row, always skipping that one. I wanted to find out, because Yeah.
No, I missed it.
All right, that's two of us.
You still have to wait to find out about chapter 8.
Unless I ask Sean. All right.
You mentioned, you had mentioned during lunch about switching dentists. Can you tell us about that?
Come again?
About you switching dentists?
Oh, yes. I was very, very happy with my dentist. Not having any problem with him at all. The only objection I had, any dentist I'd ever been, it hurt when they put the anesthetic in, and it hurt when the anesthetic wore off. It didn't hurt while they were working on the tooth. And I listened to Dave and talked about how dentists could use this, and switched to a Dr. Jim Ahern, who then became my dentist. And the first time I went to him, we relaxed me beautifully, and just before he starts to work, he says, "Now, Owen, if the hypnosis doesn't work, we can always go back to the anesthetic." And I said, "Jim, you're not supposed to tell me that."
And then did it work for you?
Yes, it did. And we didn't leave Champaign, that was in 61, and we left Champaign in 89. I did not use, unless it was really, really major work, I did not use any anesthetic at a dentist in all that period of time, except for hypnosis. And we moved to San Diego. I couldn't find a dentist there that would cooperate with me. And my dentist here will be at the meeting tonight.
We're going to have to brainwash him a bit. But it sounds to me like it won't be that hard. You've already set him up.
I think he's ready for it. And we'll give him the book, and I think he'll go for it. I was telling my primary care, who would be go, except he is unable to, that my dentist was going. He said he wasn't quite ready to use it in his practice, but he wanted to know more about it. And primary care said when he finds out about it, he'll use it.
Great. You had a hard time getting your book back, didn't you? Tell me about that. That's how we ended up talking again, because I know we talked several years ago.
Well, several years ago I contacted Cheryl and Dave, because I had lost, or Cheryl and Larry, because I'd lost my Relaxaduce record years before. I'd loaned it to somebody and couldn't get it back. So they were kind, and they sent me CD, and they sent me Dave's book, and absolutely fascinating. And I asked my primary care if he'd like to borrow it. I'd taken it to the office with me to read while I was waiting, and he grabbed it, and that was over a year ago. And every time I asked about it, he wasn't done yet. So I finally decided, well, let's order a book for him. And then there was also the dentistry book I noticed, so I ordered one of those for my dentist. And Cheryl saw the order come in, and she called me. And then you wrote an inscription to the doctor and one for primary care, and he couldn't thank me enough. I did get my book back.
Well, I have to inscribe your book.
You did?
Oh, I did?
Yes.
I didn't remember that. I remembered that I'd inscribed the one that we sent you to get your book back,
Yeah.
but I didn't remember
No,
the
you
other.
did mine too.
Yeah, several years ago. That's when we first met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we also, I think, had sent you the recordings that were the equivalent of the Relaxaduce, correct? Our shorties that has that record as part of
dig
it.
it out and start using it again.
Did the doctors get to practice on you?
The only one that got to practice on me was Jack Brodsky.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't let the others.
Mine.
Yeah. Jack practiced on me, he practiced on Beverly, but that was it. Jack, when preparing Beverly for her delivery, had always have to have a trigger to induce them quickly, and his trigger was when he put on his glasses. Well, 2 or 3 months after Beverly delivered, we're driving down the street heading east, And Jack is driving down the cross street heading south, and Beverly sees him and says, "Hey, there's Jack." And must notice that he's got his glasses on because her head went down real quick. So I made a turn and we followed him home. When he got into the driveway, he said, "Hi, what's up?" I said, "I need a favor." He said, "What's that?" "Remove the trigger." Fortunately, she wasn't driving.
That's interesting, and that's probably why Larry and I always say you do a double trigger.
Right.
You know, something that might occur, but something that you'd have to go out of your way to do in a way, you know.
Yeah. I use what I remember of Dave's induction a lot of times to put myself to sleep at night. And the trigger word I use is shenanigans, and I have to say it 3 times, and it gets me back to a pretty good relaxed state, but not quite far enough. So I have to start counting the numbers backwards, and sometimes I have to take the elevators down to another floor. But it almost always puts me to sleep. I also sometimes, I have a bad habit of grinding my teeth. And I will sometimes, as I'm doing this, tell myself I'm not going to grind my teeth for at least 24 hours. And it works. I enjoyed Dave's classes, and I have enjoyed using what I learned. And as I read the book over and over again, I'm learning more and more. I just need to find somebody to practice on. It says in the book not to do it on your wife.
Yes, and there's a reason for that. When you're first learning, you're going to be a bit nervous. And if it's on your wife or somebody like that who's going to be saying, "So, did you really learn it?" That can blow your confidence. Once you've had 3, 4, a dozen successful inductions of other people, go back and use it.
Yeah. My son says that he cannot be hypnotized. So I'm anxious as I practice to get started on him. And I almost forgot, several years back, we went to Grand Rapids, Michigan to visit our daughter and grandkids. And her son was about 4 years old at the time. And it was nap time. And there's no way he was going to take a nap. She got him down in bed and he was screaming and hollering, and she couldn't get him quieted down. I said, "Let me try." And went back in there and sat down, and nap time, isn't it, Andrew? "Yeah, but I don't want to take a nap." I said, "You don't have to take a nap, Andrew, but aren't you awfully tired? And aren't you getting sleepy? And aren't your eyes getting very, very heavy? Andrew, your eyes are getting heavier and heavier and harder to keep open." And it didn't take but about 3, 4 minutes, and Andrew was out OC.
That's good. That's real good. How old were you when you attended my father's class?
I was born in 1931, and that was 1960, so I was 29.
This is just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Dental chair. I mean, it really takes us back to that same time period that you're talking about, with the slow drills that went.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
When I was in junior high school, they determined that I needed braces. And we went to there were 4 teeth that had to come out, 2 uppers and 2 lowers. And we went to get the 2 uppers taken out. And the doctor had told my mom not to give me anything to eat, but I was hungry before we went, and a little bit of alphabet soup isn't going to hurt. Well, because of that, we were going to use a local anesthetic. And I don't know how much he used, but it hurt going in. He broke both teeth off and had to chisel out the roots, and they kept telling me it wasn't hurting. And our waiting room was a block away, and my mom came running because she could hear me screaming. And when we had to go back for the second one, we made sure we didn't give me anything to eat before we went. And he did the same thing there and broke both of those off to an actual amount. It was a long time before they got me back to a dentist for anything.
Yeah.
They were late.
And
So-
when we left that dentist, I told my mom, I grow up, I'm going to be a dentist, I want him in my chair.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
so
us.
much.
We really
It was my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I wanted to meet you in person for so long.
I know, and what you just happened to have written at the right moment, ordering that book, because we had just made plans to be here in Phoenix. I went, we can be there.